5-year-old Shaniya Davis was living with her mother, Antoinette Davis, in a rundown apartment at the Sanders Street complex in Fayetteville, North Carolina, an area known at the time for high crime, drug activity, and unstable living conditions. Reports later described the home as lacking proper supervision, with concerns about neglect and exposure to unsafe environments. In the early morning hours of November 10, 2009, around 5:30 a.m., Antoinette called 911 claiming Shaniya had been taken from their apartment during the night, saying she last saw her around 2:30 a.m. when she put her to bed. Investigators quickly began checking surveillance footage across the city, about 30 miles out, and found that the story didn't line up. A hotel worker notified police after spotting a girl who matched Shaniya's description, but the man and child left by the time authorities arrived. Video from the America's Best Value Inn on Bragg Boulevard showed a man later identified as Mario McNeil carrying Shaniya into a motel room during the early morning hours, around the same time frame she was supposedly missing from home. This discovery shifted the entire case within hours, as it showed she had not been taken by a random intruder but had been with someone her mother knew. Phone records and surveillance helped investigators build a timeline showing that Antoinette had been in contact with McNeil shortly before Shaniya disappeared. Evidence presented later indicated that Shaniya had been handed over to him late on November 9th, before the 911 call was ever made. After leaving the motel, McNeil was tracked driving through multiple areas outside Fayetteville, with investigators retracing his route using traffic cameras and witness sightings, focusing especially on rural roads off Highway 87. Shaniya's father spoke out with cries of bringing his daughter home. Bradley says Shaniya was born from a brief relationship with Davis. Antoinette did care for Shaniya her first year when she was first born. After that, she felt that it was best that Shaniya stayed with me as I was able to provide and give her a better environment, he says. Anytime Antoinette asked to see her, I made arrangements that she was able to spend time with her daughter. On November 16, 2009, 6 days after the initial report, search teams found Shaniya's body in a wooded area near the Lee-Harnett County line, just off Highway E7. The location was isolated, several yards off the roadway, and not visible unless you were specifically searching the area. By this point, both McNeil and Antoinette Davis had already been taken into custody as the case rapidly shifted from a missing child investigation to a homicide. According to court documents, McNeil kidnapped, raped, and killed the 5-year-old the same day she was reported missing from her mother's mobile home in Fayetteville. During the legal proceedings, prosecutors laid out a timeline supported by surveillance footage, phone records, and witness testimony, showing how the events unfolded over just a few hours between the night of November 9th and the early morning of November 10th. Mario McNeil was convicted in 2013 and sentenced to death. Cumberland County Superior Court Judge Jim Ammons sentenced Davis to between 17.5 and 21 years in prison. In a deal worked out with prosecutors, Davis did not plead guilty to first-degree murder, as originally charged, but entered so-called Alford pleas to second-degree murder and a host of other charges, including first-degree kidnapping and felony child abuse. Under North Carolina law, an Alford plea means the defendant does not admit guilt, but concedes prosecutors have enough evidence to likely get a conviction. Prosecutors say Davis gave her daughter to Mario McNeil on November 10, 2009 to settle a drug debt. He also was convicted of kidnapping and sexually abusing Shaniya. You had the opportunity, the means, to save Shaniya's life, and you did not. You are not a good mother, he told her. Davis made a tearful apology to Shaniya's father, Brad Lockhart, for raising their child in the environment she did, saying she let her pride get in the way. I never said I was a perfect mother, but I was a good mother. I did what I had to do to provide. I did what I had to do to make sure they were all right. I didn't have any help from anybody, she said. I forgave you a long time ago, and Shaniya did, said Lockhart. Davis's attorney said she pleaded guilty because she always felt morally responsible for what happened to Shaniya. But she also took Alford pleas to avoid the 3 consecutive life sentences that a first-degree murder conviction would have meant. The case also drew attention to prior contact between the family and social services, raising serious questions about missed warning signs and whether earlier intervention might have changed the outcome. Shaniya had previously been living with her father before returning to her mother's care not long before her death, a detail that became a major focus after the case. What made the story especially difficult for the public to process was how quickly the situation unfolded, from a reported abduction at 5:30 in the morning to evidence within hours that told a completely different story, leaving behind a case that remains one of the most discussed child homicide investigations in North Carolina.